Hello all, hope you enjoyed workshops 1 and 2. Building into workshop 3, we're going to take everything even further again and start looking at how we can add value to our graffiti lettering by doing some characters. And we're going to look at the traditional characters that graffiti writers would do. So say for something like a spray can character with a classic cartoon face, b-boys, b-girls, breakdancers, all of that sort of stuff. And really just try and look at some of the basics of how you would sketch them up, how you would make them work and how they would add value to your graffiti lettering. Right guys, welcome to workshop 3 of our graffiti art workshops that we're doing. We've concentrated on letters in workshop 1 and 2 and doing effects. Now we're going to go on to doing some characters. Now traditionally, when we're doing graffiti and graffiti art, the characters were always there to sit next to the lettering to sort of make the lettering more powerful, more dynamic, add something for the public to like, because often graffiti lettering isn't necessarily what the public love, but the public generally love the characters, so it would make it easier for people to do murals and things like that because people would like to see that. And often graffiti writers would try and like focus on the things that they were doing. So today I'm going to do 3 kind of classic graffiti characters. So I'm going to do a spray can character, so taking a spray can and giving it some sort of human features. And then we're going to do a b-boy and a b-girl, which is kind of all from breakdancing, which is a part of hip-hop culture as well. And originally a lot of graffiti writers would have been breakdancers, a lot of breakdancers would have been graffiti writers. So they would do versions of themselves as, so you would see almost like a breakdancer next to a piece and it would be in the stance, in a breakdance stance and things like that. So that's part of what I'm going to replicate. Often the characters would be pointing at the piece or the lettering that you were doing. They might be doing a symbol or a sign with their hands, like a peace symbol and that sort of stuff. So all of it just giving it that element of cool, that element of sort of just a kudos to what you were doing and show that you had the skills to not only do lettering, but you could also break out and do some characters as well, meaning you were a more well-rounded graffiti writer. So it's a nice thing to have in the repertoire. So first off, I'm going to start with my pencil. Obviously for this workshop today, we're going to be needing our pens again, our marker pens for our outlines. Nice to have some felt so that we can add some decent colour to what we're doing. And I'm going to start out with a pencil. I don't really need to worry about the marking out today because I'm just going to drop my character right in the middle of my paper. So I don't need to worry so much about spacing unless I was going to add letters afterwards, and then I'd be conscious and worry about that. So I'm going to go straight in with my spray can character. So again, light with a pencil, hopefully you'll be able to see this. And I'm just going to start out with some of the basic things. And I'm already thinking about how do I make something kind of boring looking like a spray can a little bit more interesting, a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more angled, make it look like it's got some movement to it, like some stuff going on. And again, I'm working my hand kind of confidently. And I'm going to get the basic shape of my spray can in. And kind of work it out from there. Then my bottom of my spray can sticking out here. This will all hopefully become clear in a minute. If the pencil lines are quite slight and you can't really see them, then don't worry because it'll all start to shape up. It's just I'm doing my first sketch line, which is kind of what you guys will want to do as well. Is get that first sketch line in. Faces quite tricky. You want to kind of get your lines right and your angles right. It does take quite a lot of practice. Just like anything, you want to spend a lot of hours just sketching and resketching and not get too worried or concerned if what you're doing doesn't kind of shape up the exact way you'd like it. That's fine. It's just about practice making perfect, like with anything like this. I'm still thinking about getting the balance right so that my spray can's looking interesting and exciting. I'm putting a bit of background on there. And this will all start to become clear in a minute. Now I know I need to work on my eyes a little bit, so my eye shapes are not doing what I'd like them to do at the moment. So I'm just going to work that as I go with my pen in a sec, and hopefully I've got that kind of about right. So I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but that's my basic first sketch of what I'm going to do for my spray can. And he's got like a kind of shouting face going on. So now I'm going to work it with Sharpie. Just going to test my Sharpie, make sure it's a good strong one. And then again, bold lines, and I'm going point to point. So I'm not sketching across, I'm just going all the way to the corners of what I'm doing. And that's the kind of cap on my spray can where the spray would be coming out. This is like the bit where the valve sits in the spray can and all of that sort of stuff, and the lip of the can. And I'm kind of, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to kind of be the right sort of shape. And then my face shape's kind of coming in here as well. My eyebrows. And the bottom lip of my spray can as well. So again, you can see from the shapes, I've really tried to make it dynamic. So it's starting out going that way, and then the movement's going that way and going that way. Like a spray can would obviously just be straight, but to make this exciting, to make it more dynamic, I'm giving it that movement like a face would have, or like if it was actually shouting, that sort of thing. Kind of curving everything over a bit. And that's my eye shapes are looking okay, but I'm going to come back to them later because I want everything else in first. So it's nice to leave things like your eye shapes and stuff to last, because where you put the eyeball is going to really affect what you've drawn. And that would be the same if you were like drawing Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or anything like that. You'd probably draw all that stuff in last. So here's our spray can doing its spray, spraying out, creating our cloud. And then it's like our spray can's almost sitting on that cloud. Sitting in like a cloud of its own spray. Now I'm not doing a cloud all the way around, my cloud's breaking up. I don't want the cloud to completely close it in this instance. I want the cloud to sit behind, I want the spray can to come out. I want this bit of cloud to kind of sit behind the can. This bit, so just giving it more movement, more dynamism, more sort of excitement. And again, this is just my rough sketch. So if I was going to a wall to paint, this is kind of how I'd want to sketch this up. And then I'm going to think about my eyeball, and I'm going to kind of plonk it in there and make sure that I think I'm getting my angle about right. That's not looking too bad. My eyebrows are a bit off. This one's probably a bit too high, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. It's giving the right sort of effect. If we've got time, we'll come back and do some colour, drop some colour in this as well. Slight 3D just to make it stand out off that cloud a little. And that's not looking too bad. So that's not too bad. So I'm going to move on to some of my B-boy and B-girl characters now. So I'll leave that one in shot. So I'm going to move on to doing some characters now. I'm going to start with a B-girl character, move on to doing a B-boy character. I think it's pretty nice to have like kind of both of the genders represented. Why not? There's some amazing female graffiti writers out there. There's lots of amazing male graffiti writers out there. It's always been considered to be a kind of a male pastime graffiti. You know, like this idea that girls don't want to get their hands dirty and get involved in something like this, but I just think that's a bit ridiculous. So it's good to sort of represent and try and work that out. And I'm gonna later on in the thing we'll throw up some links to some sort of amazing female and male character writers in this one, and some other graffiti writers in some of the other episodes that we do as well. But definitely check out Rosie One. She's an amazing graffiti writer who does amazing characters. Big influence on me. A great male graffiti writer who does amazing characters is Mode 2. They're really nice characters as well. But there's a lot of amazing character writers out there. A guy called Hombre from Germany is worth checking out. So just type those searches into Google with graffiti next to them, and you should start getting some good images that pop up, like Mode 2 graffiti, Hombre graffiti, Can 2 graffiti, Rosie 1 graffiti, and you'll start to see some cool characters to get inspiration from. Okay, so I'm going to start with a very, very basic B-girl. It's not really my speciality, but I figured if I give it a little go, I can sort of like shape it up. So I'm going to start with the hat. Maybe like we've got a bit of a baseball cap on. Some long hair to sort of break out that. So I'm sketching super light with my pen because I'm quite happy just doing it in pen, to be honest. But you guys might want to start out with a pencil. And then I'm going to get this kind of classic graffiti face that kind of goes on. You try and get the shapes right. So it's just super simple. And a lot of the sort of classic B-boy, B-girl characters will just have a big, sort of what would be like a big eyebrow. And then a small eyeball. And then a nose. And you actually avoid drawing the mouth. And this is all from one of our most influential character artists that graffiti artists took inspiration from. Was a New York comic book artist called Vaughn Bodē, and he did really famous characters like called the Cheech Wizard and these things. And I would definitely again type into Google, type in Vaughn Bodē. Like the characters sometimes can be a little bit rude, but the style of them is just like was really, really important for early graffiti and for this sort of thing. So then we kind of got okay. So then we often with the classic B-boy characters, you might bunch in the arms, kind of have them coming back into the body, and you would actually stop the body at the belt line. And then again, the B-girls and the B-boys back in the sort of 70s New York would all wear these crazy name belts, like and always have on like the really cool stuff like the backwards Kangol hat like I've drawn here. And this is just like the classic stuff that graffiti writers are still trying to emulate, kind of paying I guess homage to the original sort of idea of hip hop and graffiti. And the characters still hold a lot of weight today, so you still find guys doing characters that were similar to the ones done in the 70s, in the 80s, that kind of stuff going on. And so you tuck in the arms in. I know it kind of looks weird, but you tuck the arms in, and then you just have the hands kind of break out. And you have that very classic sort of Mickey Mouse kind of Disney hand shape, kind of tucking into the body like that, which again is like super classic, and it doesn't have to make total sense, but you're kind of doing that hand shape breaking out. And then maybe just like a nice cool name belt, and you're starting to get that sort of simple character shape, and that's going to look super nice next to your lettering, just really kind of coming together and making sense. And you don't really need like the full face to give the impression of a face happening. You can just have that long hair is going to make that look like that's a B-girl going on. The colours you might choose, the style of clothing you might do the character in will kind of work that way too. I'm doing like extra sort of spirals and extra curls on the hair there. And the B-girls and B-boys, traditionally back then would have dressed fairly similar anyway. It would have been bubble jackets, like I said, Kangol hats, baseball caps, that sort of thing. And you would have been dressed like kind of ready to ready to be involved in a breakdance battle or a graffiti battle, anything like that, that's kind of what you would have rolled with. Yeah, so that's a super simple B-girl character. Alright, so now I'm gonna do like kind of like a character by one of my favourite graffiti artists. He's a guy called Solio from Brighton, and I really love his characters. He does a kind of his own take on the traditional kind of b-boy character, and I'm just gonna kind of do my version of what he would do. And he always does his characters wearing like big visors and stuff like that, and they're kind of super simple. And I don't know if I'm going to do this justice, but I'll give it a good go, because he's, in my opinion, much better at this stuff than me. But I just think they're great sort of like classic, almost like cartoon characters. And again, like the shape of the face is not dissimilar to the one I just did. And the style of them's not so dissimilar. It's just like real simple, you know, not much of a nose, not much of a mouth, just super little lines just to accentuate what that looks like. And he's dropping a big kind of load of hair on there, but it could just as easily be like a baseball cap or something like that. And then again, like a bit of a shirt collar going on. And then again, the arms just bunch up, so you're not getting a lot of body. Everything's stopping at the waist again. And that would traditionally be because, you know, I'm not saying this is right, but your characters back in the original graffiti days, they would have been floating on a train. So you wouldn't have bothered drawing the legs, because it would have been sitting on a train carriage. And I'm not saying that's okay or that's what you should do, but that's just kind of the way that the way everything's kind of come together, meaning that you might only do half a character. You might just sit that character next to your piece, just kind of sitting there half like that. So I'm just going to turn that around to show you my little sketch, and then we'll maybe throw. But yeah, to really see like an amazing version of this, go check out Solio Graffiti on something like on Google maybe, and then you'll get to see like a lot of his characters and a lot of his letters. He does a very really like nice traditional graffiti style, in my opinion. Really inspired by that New York graffiti. So I'm just going to drop the bigger shapes in for now. I want to try and get my ears nice and even, because if they're too different, it just jars, like it won't kind of make sense. Little surprised expression on the mouth, little nose line. This is just like a little sort of like breakout, almost like a flash going on in the background, like a camera flash, or just a something to sort of like close, what I say would like close your character in. You know, it's like just giving it a bit of a border around it. Again, small shoulders, everything's bunched up, and then make those hands look like they're really sticking out in front. You can see kind of over the top size of face. You can see like an over the top size of face, like the small nose detail, eyes, and then big hands again, so that the face and the hands are the kind of main things you're really seeing. It's not dissimilar on this, like the body's not doing so much, but the hands on the girl b-boy character, the hands are kind of like really stood out and prominent. The hat's really prominent, it's oversized. So you can kind of mess around with the sizing on things. You know, that kind of works. Similar with this one, the nose and the top of the spray kind of are like accentuated, they're over the top, but they're the details to focus on. The mouth's over the top, but it's the detail to focus on. So again, like I'm doing matching hands on this, just pointing, but the fingers are just really throwing out. And again, like I've done an accurate finger count on this one, so there is 5, but often you might just do like classic Mickey Mouse styles, you might just do 4, you might just mess around with all of that. There's no real rules, that's the nice thing about it, you can just kind of do your own thing. let's make this visor look a bit more interesting. So the visor's got like a line going across. I'm just going to turn it around for your guys' benefit while I sort of thicken up that outline. But yeah, for me, I would do all of this just to add more to my lettering. I wouldn't consider myself like a character artist per se. I just really like this stuff to go next to what I do, just to, you know. So I always try and surround myself with character artists that do it better than me, and try and paint with those guys, because then they're going to add real value to what I do, and hopefully my lettering helps those guys. A really amazing UK character artist who you could find on like social media and on the internet, called Odyssey or Odd House, and this guy does like incredible traditional amazing character work and amazing sort of tattoo flash and that sort of stuff. And he's like comes from that classic graffiti background as well, and like comic book art. And yeah, and then obviously once you've done your outline, same as when we've been doing our lettering guys or anything like that, you just go wild with the colours you want to use. Felts, whether that's with colouring pencil, just to get some ideas about how the colours should work. You know, messing around with different skin tones. You know, don't just always go to pink. Think about the fact that people are coming from all walks of life, all places. You know, make your skin tones change up. Graffiti's universally like that. The early New York graffiti, there was people from every walk of life, like Latino, people from the black community. There was white graffiti writers, so it wasn't just one thing going on, you know. The idea of graffiti is you're anonymous. You can be from any walk of life, rich or poor. So like make your characters kind of reflect that too. Doesn't always have to be guns and violence. It could just be somebody just out there kind of doing their thing. So that's kind of our male b-boy character as well. There you go, guys. See you for the next workshop. Coming up next, we're going to be in workshop 4. We'll be exploring tags and how to go about creating a name for yourself, and different styles of tags you can do as your signature.